Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1303B, and today's date is June 11th, 2017, and the title of the episode is Everything is Not What It Seems, The Shift Has Begun. Now, before we get started, I just want to make an announcement. On Saturday, I uploaded an interview to the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, so all you need to do is go over to YouTube, type in X22 Report Spotlight. It'll bring you right over to the video, or you can come over to the X22Report.com site, scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side. You can play the video right on the site. You can do the same thing with NewsSentinel.com. Scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side. You can play the video right on the site, or you can go to Steemit, and all you need to do is type in steemit.com. That's STEEMIT.com. Go to X22 Report, and you can play the video right on the site. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, there seems to be some question about Comey's memo at this point, and a lot of things are now playing into it. And I've said when he testified in front of the Senate panel, why didn't he produce the memo? Where was the memo? Why did he have to type up a statement? Why couldn't he just give the memo over? Why couldn't he hand it over? And why didn't the Senate say, you know something, we want all documentation and the memo? And that wasn't mentioned until the hearing, which was kind of strange. But the question now is Comey, his decision to leak the FBI documents to a friend, did that violate the FBI's employment agreement regarding unauthorized leaks? Now, during his testimony to the Senate Intelligence Committee, former FBI Director James Comey revealed that he was the source of the leaked memos. And he gave it to his friend, his professor at Columbia University. He shared that. He read them over the phone to the New York Times. And the question now is, did Comey violate the agency's employee agreement? Because there's numerous restrictions on the use of information or documents acquired during an individual's employment by the FBI. Now, I said this back when he was testifying during the Senate hearing, and I said, well, anything that he does is really the people's. It's part of the government. It's not his personally. And it looks like he was trying to convince everyone that it was his. But when you look at the FBI's employee agreement, paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, you see something completely different, and this is what they say. Paragraph 2 states that all materials acquired in connection with an employee's official duties are property of the U.S. government, and that such materials must be surrendered to the FBI upon an employee's separation from the agency. Now, did he give all his information over to the FBI when he was fired? Well, paragraph 3 states that the employees are prohibited from releasing any information acquired by virtue of my official employment to unauthorized individuals without prior official written authorization by the FBI. Paragraph 4 of the agreement requires FBI employees, prior to disclosing or publishing information acquired during their employment, to submit the information to FBI authorities for review to determine whether it is authorized for public release. So if Comey followed protocol and surrendered all government property, including the memos he produced when he was an FBI employee, it would have been impossible for him to provide the memos to his friends or his friend, and then to the New York Times. So this whole story that Comey has been weaving, a lot of it doesn't make any sense. And if he did take the memo with him, where he says it's his own personal property, not when he's working for the FBI, well, he broke the FBI agreement. And then he broke it in two different places because he handed it over to his friend. Then his friend gave it out to the public by reading it over the phone. So when you look at this, this is a complete disaster for Comey right now. There should be an investigation into Comey and what he has done. Now, out in the Philippines, we see that the U.S., well, they started to offer limited support to Duterte to battle the Islamic State there. And Duterte has said that the U.S. is unreliable. He said this in the past, and it was when President Obama was president. Now, Trump is president, and they kind of get along. And it seems like Duterte kind of likes Trump. But there are reports out there saying Duterte has no knowledge of this. He didn't give the United States permission to do this. But what I'm seeing and what I'm looking at right now, this most likely is being done behind the scenes once again, where Trump and Duterte, they've been speaking with each other. And at this time, the deep state that controls the Islamic State, well, Trump's teams, along with Russia, China, the Philippines, and other countries, they're actually going after the paid mercenary force, which is the terrorist force controlled by the intelligence agencies and many other countries' intelligence agencies. And this is the beginning of a fight and an extermination of the terrorist groups, these paid mercenary groups. And we can see right now, Qatar is being used as the scapegoat for the funding of these terrorist groups, because when Trump went to the Middle East, he laid it out saying, listen, I'm cutting off the funding. You will receive no funding from the intelligence agencies. You'll receive no funding from the government. So you're going to have to decide how you want to play this and how we're going to resolve this situation, because there's many countries that are involved with this. And we can see right now that a lot of information is going to be coming out very, very soon. We see Iran, Russia, they are supplying food to Qatar. They're helping those people because of the blockade. And we also see that Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, they've launched hotlines for mixed Qatari families affected by the blockade. So this comes after Amnesty International slammed the Gulf states for separating families among political disputes. So they said, okay, we'll set up a hotline. We'll allow families to, get out if they're mixed families. And we can see that I don't think this is really set up to be an invasion. I think this is to make it look good on the world stage, to make it look like we're going after the funding. We're going after those individuals that have been supporting the Islamic State. And we can see by Trump and his announcement, he is out there and he is calling upon Qatar to stop funding groups that commit terrorism. And this is at a very high level where the funding is taking place, which really means at the intelligence level. And we can see this, and Trump is saying this is the beginning of the end of terrorism. He says no more funding. Basically what he's saying is that, listen, intelligence agencies, listen, deep state, you are done here. This is ending. You will not be funding any more terrorist groups, Al-Qaeda, the Islamic State, Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, all this regime change, it is coming to an end. It's time to stop it. Now, think about what's happening here at this point. We have Syria and Russia. They have now taken control over the border. We see the Syrian army. They've raised the flag over the Iraqi border, crossing for the first time since retreating from this area in spring of 2015. And we see that the Islamic State, well, they are now basically cut off from all of their supplies. So since the supplies are cut off, since Trump is going after the funding and bringing down this entire network, this will then benefit Assad, if you really think about it, because since these terrorist groups within the country cannot receive the funding now, cannot receive the supplies, they're going to be removed from the country or forced out or destroyed at a very fast pace. This has been set up from the beginning, because now that the supplies are blocked, all this material, the food, the arms, and everything that was coming across the border, that is stopped. Without the money coming in to all of these organizations within Syria, they have nothing left. So the destruction of these paid mercenaries, and of course, they get paid, so they're not going to sit around. If the funding is done and it's cut off, they're just leaving. They're not going to continue fighting. This is not about, oh, we want an overthrow of the government because we believe that Assad is a bad person. This is about paid mercenaries getting paid and being promised certain things if they did what they were supposed to do. But once their dollars stop flowing in, they're just going to leave. They're just going to run out of there. They have no allegiance whatsoever. And this is what we see happening right now. And if we look and we take a step back and we look at the globalists, at the deep state, the elite, the central bank, basically right now, this entire empire, it is collapsing. And everything is shifting. So everything that we're seeing right now is really not what it seems. There's still people under the same thought process that we're still supporting the terrorist groups, that the deep state is still in control. No, things are shifting right now. And this is why we see all this happening. And the power from the deep state, the power from the elite, it's being stripped away a little bit at a time. And before you know it, it will all be stripped away. Now, is it completely stripped away? No. We're getting very close. But we need to remember the deep state, they have their tentacles wrapped around different departments within the government. They still have a lot of people in there, and it's going to take time to basically drain the swamp, to remove a lot of these individuals. But we could see from what Trump and those individuals are doing right now, they're going after certain hot spots and trying to break this system down a little bit at a time. And one of the biggest areas is basically the Middle East, because to stop the funding and to cut off all supplies to the paid mercenaries and to strip them of all of this and to cut off everything, this is a huge step, because once you do this, everything starts to fall apart in the Middle East. All of a sudden, terrorism disappears. All these individuals that were getting paid, they hightail it out of there. And before you know it, Syria can take back their country. Iraq can take back their country. Libya can take back their country. We see already the special teams in Somalia. They are going after the Islamic State. Now, what we're seeing is that these teams are actually going after the Islamic State. This is why Trump decided to give these individuals in the Pentagon the ability to make the decision to go after the Islamic State. Think about what Obama did. He took full control. He told the military where to go, what targets to hit. Now it's back to those individuals that are going to get the terrorists. And this is why Trump actually did this, because he wanted them to go after the terrorists, to make the calls and say, yes, we're going after them. And this is what we see being done right now. He's bringing this to an end. Now, how far will the deep state go? We'll have to wait and see. I don't think they're finished as of yet, because I still believe they're going to try to fight as hard as they possibly can. And we can see it still with the corporate media. We can still see it, but things are definitely shifting now. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.